Alan Quinlan is here. How are you?
I'm very good now, and yourself?
Have you come down after the weekend? Yeah.
I didn't get too carried away, to be honest. 2 bottles of beer after the match and a bag of chips and away home with me. I was Roger's going back to Paris Sunday morning early, and so was Paul, and I was going to have a few drinks with them. But I think it was it's very enjoyable, satisfying, and I don't think they're going to get carried away. It's a great place to be at the moment in this current situation. The
point you made about Cian Healy on Monday, if anybody didn't see it, was that they expected to win, and so therefore they're not going completely crazy.
I don't think they will. I think there's obviously, it was all over the papers Sunday, Monday. There's a lot of attention around the second time we've beaten them in 113 years, so rightly so. But I think, they won't get carried away. I think Joe Schmidt will have a massive focus on this week. It sounds kind of like, come on, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only USA. It's not. Their results have been good this year. And the challenge is for the rest of the squad now to the strength and depth that he's been building for the last number of years. Can a few guys stick their hands up and say, well, I'm good enough to be part of that top 23?
Well, Jacob Stockdale was only coming into people's thinking around this time last year. Like, he hadn't been a nailed-on starter at any point up to this, and then all of a sudden, a reasonable November, and he's into the Six Nations team, and he's never getting out of that team again. Like, there is room for bolters.
Go back to two years ago, or a year and a half ago, when they were in nearly 2 years, really, in USA and Japan, year and a half.
Yeah.
Stockdale came on the scene there and played, and I was looking at names who will play on Saturday, like your potential team on Saturday, who will step up from that and possibly challenge for obviously World Cup squad first, and then can they get on the team? There's so many guys, and you try and, this term friendly was bandied around a good bit after the weekend. And if you say that to even the players, this is the massive game for the guys who are trying to get into that group and who have ambitions to get into that group. And I think Joel said give them a very clear message, that the expectation and the standard and what they have to do to, the feedback around work rate, around accuracy of what they're doing, their skill set, all that kind of stuff. Someone like Finlay Bealham, who obviously is down the pecking order a little bit, but was very close a couple of years ago, was second choice. He's someone who is playing well this year for Connacht. He'll be saying, I want part of this. Ty Byrne, of course, he's in the scene quite early.
Yeah.
Incredible talent, ability to potentially be a starter and challenge for a starting berth. Jack Conan won't be happy kind of looking on, and he'll have that kind of drive and that fight. He's pretty resilient, tough, aggressive player, and very skillful as well.
Is Jordy Murphy ahead of him as a number 8, or is...
Not as number 8, no, not as a number 8. I think the advantage Jordy Murphy may have by getting onto the bench is you probably have to carry a 7. You have to carry someone who can play 7. I know Mahoney can go over there, but it gives a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
Sean Cronin, that debate goes on and on and on. He'll want to start. So there's a lot of little stories here of guys who are kind of trying to put pressure on.
I think Niall Scannell has a good chance of playing in the World Cup.
Rob Herring, Niall Scannell, they'll sense a little bit of an opportunity that with Rory best.
That's the only position really where you say that's definitely up for grabs, that spot.
The centre positions, I think Bundy Aki is accelerating himself into... It's hard to leave him out of the team, and where do you play Henshaw then when he comes back? And you have to have Ringrose in there for the attacking point of view.
Yeah.
So there's like 2 into 3 there, and
Chris Farrell.
Someone really... Chris Farrell is the 4th who I think he will go to the World Cup squad. But I think the other 3 are ahead of Chris. Chris Farrell was kind of making a name for himself.
Joe Schmidt loves Chris Farrell. I think he's it's like, wow, you're that big and you can do all the things that everybody else can do. I want a bit of that.
Yeah, but I think he's still behind Aki, Henderson and Ringrose at the moment. He's number 4.
Yeah.
But he definitely has the potential to be
if he gets fit.
number 1 or 2 if he wants to,
He hasn't had a chance to mess up yet.
Man of the match,
when he comes straight into the squad, it's obviously unbelievable. It was the Wales game, right?
It's going to take him a little bit of time now. He's had a significant knee injury, and I know from having that injury...
was it a cruciate or was it?
Yeah, it was a cruciate, yeah. Just... You come back at a certain level and you play, but then it's all the other conditioning and getting miles on the clock and stuff. It takes a bit of time. Herring, Kilcoyne. I know Kilcoyne you know, I think he's played very well this year. Jack McGrath and Cian Healy, in fairness, are in that bracket of top international world-class players when they're going well. And but someone like him thinks he wants to get into a squad. He wants to play well. He played well against Italy in Soldier Field. So there's a number of forwards there who are kind of chomping at the bit. Now, it's a hard place to get into. I was on the Ireland A team for a couple of times over the years. And you think, how the hell am I going to get up into the first team if they lose a match or two and you play well on the A side? So there's always something to play for, and these guys will see it as a massive game for them and an opportunity to. They'll all want to be in the squad, but they've got to show they're good enough. Then when you look at the backs, Will Addison is someone who, you know, he started against Argentina, really good year this year with Ulster. Is there an opening there somewhere? Well, you just think if he's only an injury or two away from being a starter on the side. Andrew Conway as well, who Joe likes a lot. Very good under the high ball, very quick.
So who plays 15 this weekend?
It looks like Will Addison will play.
So that, you're a bit pissed off your Conway, aren't you? Because that's your slot.
Yeah, he's playing in the wing.
He's not getting a start in the wing.
Like Arnold and McCluskey in the centres, Sweetenham on the other wing.
But who's our second choice fullback really? Like, is Jordan Larmour automatically our second choice fullback? Because I still think that he's actually a better winger. And it's early in his development yet.
Yeah, Henshaw could be an option at fullback where he started with Connacht. And you might end up at some stage accommodating him. But look, Carney keeps producing the goods.
This is purely in case of injury. But I'd like to see, and so if I'm Conway, I want to be playing myself into at least I'm the best backup.
Yeah.
But if Addison's getting the chance this weekend, then Schmidt is like, well, he's my guy.
Yeah.
So you'd be pissed off.
But Conway's also going to get the chance this weekend, but she's in a different position.
But the point is that, like,
he needs to be playing full back.
I think so.
But Addison and Larmour are both fighting for the 23 jersey. They will be 23 first or second.
And this is a challenging game for them in a sense that USA will sense if we get a result here. They've already beaten Scotland this year. They've a few good results. They're unbeaten. They're trying to build something themselves. And if they were to come to Dublin and rattle Ireland's cages a bit, they can, you know, it'd be very, very positive for them. But look, it's you think there's not many opportunities for that World Cup squad. If you look at the way we coped at the weekend, missing Sean O'Brien, Dan Levy, Henshaw, Conor Murray, I think it was exceptional. And I think Murray, we've always worried about Murray and Sexton if they don't play in the big games. So
and now just one big one.
Carberry needs, he'll start at the weekend. And
it says Ross Byrne here in the possible Ireland 15 by Jerry Thornley, but Carberry's listed on the bench, and I was actually just going to ask you that. But if Carberry would be a little bit annoyed that he's not going to get the chance to actually start,
if he doesn't start, he would be. I think, but it's understandable if he starts Ross Byrne as well. He's given him another opportunity to play at that. Get out at the Aviva as well and have a home test. It'll be his second cap. So Conor Murray, I think, missing the other day was, even though Marmion played superb, I think the kicking game out of Murray is so superior to anyone in world rugby.
Yeah.
So it's not an insult to Kieran Marmion. He played really well. We
were making the point earlier, though, that there is room for any of the nines to put their hand up to be still the official backup, especially now that Marmion's been injured and is going to be out for 2.5, 3 months. So Marmion will be coming back just as the Six Nations starts. Does he go straight back into the team as Murray's backup, or is this the chance for Cooney or whoever to go, okay, or McGrath?
I think it is the chance. It is a chance because it's going to be difficult for Kieran Marmion to come back and get minutes under the belts. There's not a huge amount between the other three. There is a gap, and again, it's not an insult to them because I'm sure they'll all admit that Conor Murray his all-round game is phenomenal, and Cooney has that versatility. It might help him going to the World Cup because he can play 10 as well. He's a goal kicker as well, so.
The thing with McGrath, though, is that going into the Six Nations, they'll have played a heap of Champions Cup games, and Schmidt is McGrath and Sexton work pretty nicely there, and they've had. And
I think Luke McGrath has performed so well when he came off the bench against Argentina, and he looked good the other day as well. So he has that relationship with Sexton, and
it helps.
He just zips the ball out. He's the quickest probably of the backup with his delivery.
Okay, we do have a pair of tickets to give away to Leinster against the Ospreys this Friday night in the RDS. These are good seats, and for your chance to win, just tell us who has been Ireland's standout player during the November Test Series using the hashtag OTB AM. That's tricky, yeah.
Who would you pick?
I don't know. I mean, Bundy's been great.
Aki started in Chicago and against Argentina and New Zealand, so he's played 3. He probably won't be involved this weekend.
Peter O'Mahony's pretty good.
I think he's been brilliant. Yeah, O'Mahony was good.
James Ryan's been sensational.
There was no standouts in
the Argentina game.
The Argentinian game. I think if you were picking one over the 3, there's only a couple have played the 3. Ringrose was another. James Ryan was, his work rate and his numbers against Argentina were really high as well, and they were massive again at the weekend. It's kind of hard, isn't it, to pick one because they didn't, play the three games.
Keane Healy played against Argentina. Rory Best, Furlong's been sensational.
Yeah, a lot of them there. Yeah, I think James Ryan, Peter O'Mahony. I just think all the forwards, no huge standouts against Argentina. It was a stuttery performance.
Yeah. Because they were completely thinking about the All Blacks.
Yeah.
It turns out, in retrospect.
Yeah, and their body language
compared to
it was patchy. And but look, nothing focuses the mind like playing against New Zealand and the week after. And I just think a massive amount of credit has to go to the coaches as well for the plan they put in place, the way they managed the group. When you think of, Eddie O'Sullivan split squads before. I remember going to Argentina in 2006-07 season before the World Cup. It was 2007, and he left probably 15 guys at home.
The first choice lads.
Yeah. And we went to Argentina and we played in 2 tests there, and we won 1, lost 1. And then we went to the World Cup in 2007, and there was a lot of talk about a divide in the group. And
was there a divide because of that?
I can't consciously remember.
Screw you were in the first team.
Us versus them scenario. Yeah. But I thought it did kind of, at the time, send out a kind of a message that the team is already picked for that first game against Namibia and Georgia, and this is going to be the team, and maybe it kind of filtered through the squad that, well, no matter what we do, we're still not going to get in the team. Now, in fairness, they had a very successful Six Nations, and the idea of resting those guys was probably a good idea, because we didn't play in the Six Nations. They were the vast majority of guys who started all the Six Nations games, so they had a fair bit of mileage on the clock.
Could have come with you, done some training, not played the games.
I don't know.
Maybe the tour was a bad idea.
It's easy to pick it out when the World Cup didn't go well and say that was a factor. I didn't really feel it at the time. I probably felt when I was at the World Cup that there was a bit of resistance to change, particularly for the Argentina game, where at that stage it was completely backs to the wall stuff. We had to get a bonus point win. The same tried and trusted who hadn't performed in the previous 3 were put out again. I remember saying to Stephen Ferris and Neil Best, Jesus, I'd actually love if the 3 of us were just put into the back row and say, let's go mental and go mad and just have a real go and see if we could bring something different. And it was never going to happen, because Simon, I think Dennis and Wally were the back row, in fairness. Brilliant players and incredible international quality players. But I just thought, even if you brought in a Ferris and a Best and just brought something different in that background.
There was no threat to those.
Yeah, look, hindsight's a great thing. Eddie thought that, look, these guys can maybe deliver, and that was a very good Argentina team. But, going back to the point I'm making, Joe leaving the group at home, training in Carton House, didn't have a negative effect for Italy. He brought a group to Italy. He didn't go out until a Thursday morning himself.
Yeah.
So
at least, everybody knew that he was keeping an eye on them. I wouldn't say anybody slacked on training.
No, I think what he did was, with that group, is he prepared. They were working on tactics for
the All Blacks.
For the All Blacks.
Yeah. It's fair enough.
It wasn't being disrespectful to Argentina. I think there was a simpler game plan and structure for that game, and to leave the group at home like that, it paid off. It didn't pay off the last time that happened.
Our World Cup group, you brought the pools in here, so we've got Ireland, Scotland, Japan, Russia and Samoa. Japan, Scotland and Samoa would traditionally have been seen by us heading into a World Cup group as banana skin, like a real chance for us to somehow screw this up. This team has a tendency not to screw these games up?
This team has, I think, if if you go back to the World Cups, I think we were incredible. The ones I was involved, we were very unlucky in Australia in 2003. We should have beaten Australia. We would have topped the group. We would have played Scotland as opposed to a very good French team that time. Now, we did get walloped in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Maybe we weren't good enough. We had a lot of good players. Maybe we were, a bit unlucky with that. We should have beaten Australia.
There's a missed
Humphries had a drop goal and played really well in that game. They went on to the final. So there's fine margins between Ireland getting to a semi-final on a few occasions. 2007 was a disaster. We didn't get out of the pool. There's no getting away from that.
Georgia should have beaten us.
I think some of that split in the squad and maybe overtraining a little bit and being on our feet a lot. We just looked fatigued and dead on ourselves in 07.
Was there a sense that you kind of get bored in the middle of a Rugby World Cup because there's a week between games?
I suppose the whole thing, there's been a lot said about the industrial estate in Bordeaux. It wasn't your ideal setting. I think the All Blacks weren't too far away from us outside of Bordeaux, but they were on the beach right on the coast, and it's definitely a nicer set. I remember in Terrigal in 2003 when we went to the World Cup, I think we had 18 days in Terrigal, about an hour and a half, 2 hours out of Sydney. And honestly, it was just beautiful.
Summer Bay is home and away, is it?
Yeah, it was close enough to it. But we had a lovely hotel right on the beach. We trained 10 minutes away, no traffic, no major distractions, small little town where we lovely restaurants, coffee shops, and we were on the beach. So we trained, come back in the bus, straight onto the beach, into the sea for the recovery. And it was just a great atmosphere and bond with that group. 2007, we were bored. You're in an industrial estate, you walk out, it's just a bit of a concrete jungle. There's no shops or anything. You have to get a taxi everywhere. Maybe it had an effect. The food was horrendous. They had to bring in a chef halfway through to try and get the food sorted. So there was a number of factors. And look, the team, I think, trained, a little bit of fatigue, maybe a bit of a split, not consciously, but subconsciously. Maybe it was, well, the boys are starting and we'll just go to the gym and train. I remember I did 6 weeks training there, five weeks at the World Cup, and I got in great shape. I was actually in really good shape and really hungry to start playing with Munster when I came home, and I had a really good run after that. 2011, that was one where I thought the win in Auckland against Australia, did the team get carried away? No, they didn't. I think they got caught cold by a very good Welsh side in the quarter-final.
And no plan B.
Yeah, maybe. I think what happened there was I remember the game really well, that Wales just took away their momentum. It was a real Sean Edwards masterclass. Just stop Ireland at source, get in O'Gara's face, get right off the line really quickly, and they just tackled everything from Ireland and played really well. And it was a massive disappointment because I remember that was a great opportunity. I really thought they could win that one in 11 and get to a semi-final. And
that's when the O'Gara-Sexton battle is raging.
And they played, and Sexton came on against Australia at 12, and they played together in that 10-12 channel a few times there. Sean O'Brien, Jamie Heaslip, Ferris in the back row. What a back row. O'Connell, O'Callaghan. There was a lot of good players there. Driscoll, Darcy. Incredible quality there, So I think
that's the one that got over.
Definitely got caught cold in that one. I think in 15 the injuries had a massive effect. So I think they've addressed a lot of those issues and the psychological stuff. Some people might say it'll be baggage going to the World Cup. If you win the group, you're probably playing South Africa in a quarter-final, which is going to be very difficult if you come second, or if South Africa were to beat New Zealand, you play them in the quarter-final, which is
not ideal.
It's not ideal, and so there's no guarantees.
You'd much prefer those in the semi-final.
There's no guarantees that we're going to get to a semi-final.
Trade-off for an easy pool.
Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah.
Okay, so just a reminder, OTB AM is live with screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. Let's talk Joe Schmidt, because the decision announcement on his future is to come in the next while, in the next week apparently. Steve Hansen is making his decision before December. Hansen was ringing Joe Schmidt in the summer asking him for tickets for this game. I wonder, did they talk about anything else? Oh, what are your plans?
I spoke to Jeff Wilson last week, and I was asking him, and I was asking Justin Marshall, and I was saying, what's the talk back home in New Zealand? And both of them were saying there's no major talk about Joe Schmidt coming back. They know what he's achieving, and people know, you know, he's doing really well in Ireland, with Ireland, and had done with Leinster. But I think the talk is that Steve Hansen is going up as a director of rugby, and then there will be a possibility of a position. But
how would Schmidt like that?
I don't know, really.
Then he's the forward role where it's like, go and find me these players. That guy over there is qualified. He's not. Let's get him to a school. Do you know? Is it like?
But the thing what happened with Henry, which Jeff Wilson was kind of saying, was that when Graham Henry left, Hansen kind of stepped up, and you know.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of change or to the structure or to the group.
Yeah.
And that there's talk that a similar scenario is kind of happening, that maybe Ian Foster will step up and take the head coach role, and Hansen will go into that director of rugby role. I don't think they're going to panic and go, well, we have to get Joe. I think they'd be foolish not to take him if he was available. But I don't think there's any kind of ulterior motive or any kind of planning going on here in the background saying, well, Joe, you now have the job. I think there'd be...
So if he's going back, he's not going back to take the senior job, he's just going back and then seeing what happens.
Well, he might not go back for a while. He might just take a break, and you know, I think if he's leaving the job, he's going back to New Zealand with the family, and then listen, he can take any job he wants, really. I think any of the Super Rugby franchises back there, he could go and live in Australia, take a job there with one of those. Everyone would want Joe if he went back down to the Southern Hemisphere. I think if he goes from the Irish job, I think his next job, you think, is the New Zealand head coach. I fear it's going to happen. I don't think there's a major panic, even though he'd be incredible loss. But I think if he left, what he would leave behind is a level of detail and coaching that will stay with the group of coaches that he's worked with, and they will have benefited and learned hugely from him over the years.
And the players, like, you know, it looks like Johnny Sexton, when he finishes playing rugby, wants to be a coach. There aren't a whole heap of jobs, but you can see him being an amazing coach. Like, he's got that analytical brain from having been exposed to Joe Schmidt for the best part of his career. So, like,
it's not always easy though, Ger. I think the key for the coach is obviously having that tactical brain and that knowledge and that vision of being able to view and see things that maybe others can't see, and to see maybe 2 or 3 phases ahead. But dealing with people as well. You got to manage a group. There's fair pressure there. It's well renowned that Joe Schmidt doesn't sleep a lot. He's up in the middle of the night doing analysis, videos. I think if you challenge him on something, you better know your detail, because you can be sure he's watched the same video 10 times over.
Yeah.
And you better know your stats and facts, and he's renowned for that. And he's one of the... But any of the head coaches will tell you, and Paulie was we were on the roadshow last week at the Olympia. It's a case of, you know, you're up at 5, 6 in the morning, you're in 2 or 3 hours before the players, even with the provincial jobs. The international is different.
They love that.
But it's a fair bit of sacrifice with family. Yeah, they do. I suppose they get in.
It's a vocation.
And probably it's that time in the early morning where before any of the players or distractions come in, you're getting 2 or 3 hours of putting a plan in the rest of the day, and finding that detail, or finding something in one of the tapes, the videos that you can show the players, structuring the day. And, you know, he was talking about that, you know, that's the stuff they're doing. He's having to do now instead. Whereas a player, you come in, you know, you have all that, and you can go back and you can do your diet and your recovery and all that kind of stuff. They've got to do all the planning before the meeting, before the session, and then do the post stuff as well, getting ready for the next day, and then travel, plan, all that kind of stuff. So you need to have a good mindset and a good amount of composure for all that stuff that goes with it.
The World Rugby Player of the Year is going to be announced on Sunday. It's basically Barrett versus Sexton. Sexton has to win after.
I think he has to win it.
Or does the 4 tries that Barrett gets swing it? Is like
look, if you're going on the recent game and the results, I think, and maybe Barrett having won it a couple of times already, I think Sexton should get it. Going right back to Paris, that drop goal.
Yeah, come on.
4 tries and
Early in the season, late in the season, and everything in between. No games lost.
Yeah, I think he's just had an incredible season with Leinster as well, and winning. He's won a lot of stuff. Series Grand Slam series win in Australia, Heineken Cup, Pro 14.
Like, not bad.
Beating New Zealand as well. So,
well, maybe, do you know what? Maybe we want Barrett to get it so that everybody in Irish rugby feels like
we have a cause.
Exactly.
I think it'd be really nice for him to get it, and I think it'd cap off an incredible year for him. And I think he'll be the first to admit that it's the players, the group he's been with as well have helped him both in Leinster and Ireland. So we have a lot of good players who are at that.
Keith Earls doesn't make the catch for the crossfield kick, then the drop goal never happens.
He had to execute it at the end. I always think of him stretching his calf in the middle of one of the phases. He was getting cramp and he was down stretching his calf while the forwards were doing a bit of over and back, and then got back involved again. So it was brilliant.
Quick question on that, right? England don't take the opportunity against the All Blacks to do it. They haven't got the brain power at the end of the game to sling the ball back. Is that on Farrell for not telling them to do it? Is that on the forwards? Like, what?
It's hard to know. I think I just remember playing with O'Gara, and you would have got that message. It would have been
who
he would probably tell the scrum half, and then he'd come into huddle and scream and shout and say, just play as many phases as you can. I'm going to put it over the bar, drop goal, So I think ultimately it's hard for coaches to be shouting messages in the heat of battle. Look at Barrett against South Africa. If he takes a drop goal there and said, look,
it turns out he can kick them now.
We always and all teams would have kind of practiced maybe a scenario where you have to go for one, where you have the over and back, the zigzag type scenario. Do you remember the 41 phases or something, Northampton, Munster, where Munster were playing for a drop goal? If you're a Northampton defender there, you know what they're at.
Yeah.
You're trying to, they nearly turned it over a few times, and then he bangs it over, you win the game. He didn't do it against South Africa, and I think that mentality for New Zealand was they believed they were going to score a try and win the game. I think England, probably the hammer blow of not being given the try probably affected him, and that kind of panic seeped through him a little bit. But that's where maybe Farrell, he's still a good bit younger than Sexton, incredibly resilient, but I think he should have probably taken control there and tried to set up a starter play for a drop goal to win them the game.
Fair enough. Alan, good stuff. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Stuart.